Add another machete if you've been more gangster about all that dealing, but your sorry ass, primo, your sorry ass managed to lose money dealing to those hijos de mami and papi. Seriously, primo, you lost money on them. How in the world is that possible? Those were the good times, and you slept half your days away, and you knew all the owners and all the clubs were the only spot of dark they let in there. And best of all, you were balling girls none of us at the time could ever have imagined touching. Girls from the good families with milk skin and green eyes, girls with hair so straight it could make a black girl ache at 100 meters. Girls with last names like Bonetti, Vicini, Curi, Lama, whose families appeared in ritmo social. You would get them high, you danced them up, and then you took them to the moteles in their own cars. These weren't the good girls who would be pussy virgins until they got their ring. No, these were the messed up girls with the divorced fathers and the ex-beauty queen mothers who had been raped or beaten or locked into their houses for most of their childhood by their general fathers. The messed up girls who drank like Policia Cobrao and who had loud, hoarse voices. These were the girls who wanted to leave Santo Domingo. Mala or not, they all acted the same when you walked into a motel with them. Like this was their first time ever. That gesture at innocence, always touching you deeply. Those were good times, no primo. But then, some hero whose girlfriend you had fucked did you in. The girl told one of her cousins, who turned around and told the hero, who turned around and told the girl's colonel father about the maldito haitiano who was fucking his sweet little daughter. They grabbed you in a club with 2 little baggies in your pocket, and that was it for your so-called life. 6 weeks they held you. My mother moved back to Santo Domingo to take care of it, to try to get you out. Prison in Santo Domingo, beyond terrible. Filth 24/7, and you, primo, the ultimate clean freak, almost went crazy in there. You had lice and rashes and a sty in your eye the size of a hazelnut. Your second week, 3 convicts threatened to kill you over some stupid slight, so mommy had to pay for 2 other convicts to watch over you with knives while you slept and bathed and ate. All the money mommy had been saving, vanishing. And while the lunatics sang old bachatas and the guards wheedled a screaming man's face on the concrete floor of a cell, you tried to keep it together, thinking of that one time you came to visit us in Jersey. Of all places, the Paramus Mall. Every time you tried, of the shearling coats you tried on during that visit, the ones you swore you would buy when you returned. Every time you tried something on, you made me take pictures, and those pictures, the memories of those pictures, were what you focused on. That was how you made it, you told me, how you held it together. The girl in question must really have liked you, primo, because she kept after her father until miraculously, finally, the colonel relented and you were free. Mommy brought you home in a taxi. You had hepatitis and a second asshole above your first asshole from a paladinal cyst that stank worse than 10 assholes combined, and whose terrible sinus leaked and leaked and leaked. But primo, you were free. That's it. Thank you. Now we'll take a little break. So let's take some questions, yeah? Let's take it from the top. Let's get some big heads out here, yeah? So right there, young man. Do I read in Spanish? Yes, I do. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah. No, I do read in Spanish. I get very nervous though, because is there a second part to your question?
Can I just make an editorial note and ask people to speak into the mics because a lot of people can't hear the question?
Yeah, I'll try to repeat the questions. I lived in Mexico City for a year, and so I know a lot of Mexican writers, and a lot of them are translated. Same with some of my Cuban friends, like Alejandro Aguilar, he's not translated, and some of his books are repressed. In Spain, in Mexico, I read people like Mario Benatin, who, only a few of his books, are, but, I try to read as much as possible. I get a little nervous because, like a Dominican, I'm always afraid that I'm being like the national question. You're being tested if you're Dominican enough. So I'm sure that wasn't your intent, but every time I get asked like those questions, I always think, uh-oh. Yeah. I came from an island that people are always trying to test. They have these better-heeled questions. So I worry about that. But yeah.
Yes.
And then right in front of you.
Oh, thank you. I was rereading the book today on the train for the third time, and I found something. I was reading Oscar Wilde. And I found something interesting that I hadn't really noticed before, previous time that I read the book. And Lola and her mom have this constant quest of, wanting to know more about the world and what's out there in the world and all these things about the world. And I was feeling like maybe that was something that you were feeling when you were growing up, just trying to explore the world and what was out there and that sort of yearning.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like most people, you live multiple lives. Yeah, there was a time in my immigration life where I lived in a very closed off, sort of economically segregated, sort of community where we didn't get much of anything. And you kind of feel trapped, man. I felt enormously trapped for a good part of my youth. There was this sense that there was this larger world out there, that if I didn't do something, I was going to be stuck in this neighborhood forever. It doesn't mean you don't love your neighborhood, but who the fuck wants to be feeling like they're cut off from the world? And I think that there was a part of me that always sort of had this yearning. Yeah, you would see a map, you would see in that time there wasn't many channels. I grew up, guys, when there was basically 3 channels plus PBS, plus the second dial that sometimes you could turn channels on. Yeah, and I remember in this 4-channel universe, the Brady Bunch went to Grand Canyon. And I was like, fuck, I want to go to Grand Canyon. And then they went to Hawaii. I was like, I want to go to Hawaii, You got exposed to this world. And again, this is way before many of the youth were born. But there was this show called James at 15, where James was from California. Somebody remembers James at 15? Yes! James, I think, was from California, was he? Or from somewhere, and he moved to Boston. And it was the first time I'd ever know that Boston was still around, because you read about it in history books. I was an immigrant kid, so he moved to Boston. And so I was seeing all this stuff. I kind of wanted to see this universe. And then adolescence came. Yeah, I got put into this kind of gifted and talented track. They picked 9 kids out of the entire township. Yeah, they were I was the only kid of color for 10 years. And once I had a lot of that contact, a lot of upper middle class white kids, I didn't want to see the world anymore. I wanted to be in my fucking neighborhood. Yeah, I didn't want to hear it. Because, when I finally got taken out of my neighborhood and thrown into this, nightmare maze of, crypto racism, which was my school's experience in the 80s. Yeah.